Simone, didn't you have some handouts about other offices' objectives?
Yeah, do you want me to start talking about my feedback?
Oh, I'm sorry, Simone has a report back on some questions y'all had first, and then we'll talk about objectives.
Yeah, okay. So Eva was the one who wanted to know about language issues. So I'll talk about language issues a little bit, but I may very well repeat it if she comes back in. She comes in. Eva Hurst wanted to know about what other mediation programs do on language access. And what I learned was Portland, Oregon, who they have a police complaint mediation program. They can get a Spanish interpreter in, but they very rarely actually need one. Seattle, it's similar. They do actually get an interpreter in. They do produce their pamphlet in different languages. In DC, they have a language line that is provided by their city so that they're able to actually call in and get an interpreter on the telephone. But usually they're able to actually get an interpreter to come into their sessions at any point. And New York City is the same exact thing and is provided by the city. It's, you know, with all these organizations are also running their mediation program as a public mediation program, so part of the city, and so the city is able to actually grant that access. Just looking at your handouts, some things which I just gave you because it was information that just came to me and I thought it would be useful for you, but we do not need to really talk about it or get into it, is the Seattle Police Department. This is an exit survey which the Seattle Police Department gives. It's for the mediator. And then I have a similar mediation program exit survey, but this goes to the police officer, the citizen complainant. That's for Portland, Oregon. And then this packet of papers here doesn't have anything at the top. That's my mistake. That's actually from DC. And those are a couple of mediation examples. They're narratives on the way that mediations have gone. So I found that that's very useful, but that's information which you might want to take a look at in your spare time. Next, what I handed you are two sets of data. This was in conjunction to Captain Hargrove's request, that instead of actually just talking about the exit survey information, so who's actually satisfied with the mediation, who's not satisfied with the mediation, who has, feels like they have a better understanding over the problem, we got some of this data stratified by police officer versus citizen complainant. So this one I have in my hand is Portland, and if you look at the bottom, it says police officer and complainant. Now, the problem, I haven't actually heard from Portland. I asked them whether that was an average at the very bottom of all the years or if that was one specific year. I haven't heard back, but that sort of gives you a picture. And when you look at it, the police officer and the complainant responses have been pretty similar on most issues. This is Portland, Oregon. Also in DC, they actually ran some more numbers. This is the information for DC. So at the top is the information relating to the civilians' response to exit surveys. And then if you wade through onto page 3, you have the officers' response to the exit surveys. Again, they are somewhat similar. I would say not as similar as Portland in some ways. Also very useful is there's other statistical survey that was included with the DC's information. So the second page of the packet for DC just lists some statistical surveys for gender, age, education, income, and race. And that's we have that for not only citizen complainants, but we also have that for officer complainant. So when I say complainant, being the person that is being complained about. Okay, so next, and if we want to have a discussion about this, we're more than welcome to actually have a discussion about it, or we can have a discussion about it the next time around if people want to sort of take some time. I'm seeing some nodding of heads, so why don't we table it until the next time. Also, something that folks wanted me to take a look at is outcomes. And specifically, people wanted me to take a look at which police complaint mediation programs include apology as an outcome in their public information. And I looked at DC, Portland, Seattle, New York, and Kansas City, and I actually did not find, and San Francisco, and I did not find any apology listed as a possible outcome. What I did, the closest I really got to was here in the Office of Citizen Complainants for San Francisco. On the second page, there is a portion which says, "Will I have to apologize?" And that's on the second page, and it says, "No, you may not have done anything wrong. When apologies are made, they are voluntary." And that's under frequently asked questions, and I would assume, people can draw their own conclusions, but I would assume that that was really aimed at both citizen complainant as well as officer, so that the citizen complainant would not be obligated to make an apology, as would the officer not be obligated. So also looking at that San Francisco packet of information, and this is going to be instrumental for us later on. I think we're doing outcomes at the end, right, UP?
No, we're doing outcomes next.
Okay, so I also circled some key information where I thought that it was the closest thing that we had to outcomes that was listed in some of the information here, and the benefits of using mediation for the San Francisco packet. I felt that there were some outcome goals mixed in there, and also in the front page, reasons officers mediate and reasons complainants mediate. I also thought that there's some outcome data in there. Next, this page, it says OPA mediation program. At the very bottom, you'll notice it says www.seattle.gov. This is the Seattle Police Complaint Mediation Program. And I think that the place where we find the outcomes, the publicly listed outcomes is under why choose mediation, why do citizens choose mediation, why do officers choose mediation. And
I'm sorry to clarify, we're not doing outcomes next, we're doing deliverables next.
that's what I thought. Yeah, okay, so outcomes are at the very end, so we have some time to actually look through that material. And then lastly, I guess we're doing,
Yeah, Simone made you print out.
but we're doing this later on, right?
We're doing this next. This is
Then
next.
these are outcomes.
Those are deliverables. By outcomes, I mean document mediation outcomes. Or
These are,
objectives.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, I'm sorry, I did mean objectives.
Okay,
Right,
so yes, we're doing objectives.
Okay, so what we are, I'm getting mixed up in the semantics. So what we're handling next, I just made a handout so that it would be easier for people to just take a look at everything all on one piece of paper. And at the very top says, based on evaluative outcomes, possible objectives are. This is straight from the blueprint. So here we have 12 mediation 12 mediation objectives listed. And then I just talked about the connection between outcomes and evaluation criteria specifically, and some of this language is from our blueprint. Process evaluation measures are qualitative measures of how the outcomes are achieved, and outcome evaluation measures are qualitative and quantitative measures of how effectively the outcomes are achieved. So basically what we're looking at is that there's no way that you're going to be able to determine whether you meet your objectives. You don't have your evaluation criteria, and that's the reason why I listed some evaluation questions, again, from the blueprint, just at the bottom of the page, and then it continues on to the second page.
And they're paired, right? So the quality assurance criteria that she put in the blueprint are based on the proposed objectives that she put in the blueprint, right? So as our objectives change, so is our QA.
And also just on the last page, are an example of the objectives in the San Diego Police Department mediation program. I don't have a pamphlet for that because unfortunately the San Diego Police Complaint Mediation Program no longer exists. So we have this one, and they were done in by funding was my information. So we have this example, and then we also have the examples that I gave you, which were San Francisco and DC. Yes, money. I believe it was money. Yeah.
San Diego was using a lot of volunteers, I think, right? When they were one of the ones that was.
Yeah, that was my information. I talked to, I don't know how reliable my source is on that, but that was what I was informed.
So the process that I propose here is that we take out 10 minutes for any questions or discussions. Then we do a dot vote on the proposed objectives. And then we talk about additions to those. Does that process sound good to everybody? Oh, and Connie, what I mean by dot vote is I give everybody some flags in 3 different colors. You go blue for love it, let's go forward with it. Yellow for I like it, but I have some questions or reservations. And red for absolutely not, I don't want it. Okay.
I forgot to also mention, we have water in the back. Does anybody want any water?
So I'm gonna give us 10 minutes if there are any questions or comments about the proposed objectives that Astrid offered. Okay, seeing none, why don't we go on to the dot vote?
I have one thing.
We have to choose.
Basically, this is what we begin with. We could adopt this in part or in whole or not at all. So that's what the dot vote is to determine. After we vote on this stuff, then we talk about stuff we want to add to it. Because these are the measurable ways by which we measure success. These are the ways by which we measure the success of the program, right? These things should be linked to our goals. So already I know because our goals change, better understanding probably isn't the best way to say what our deliverable is. Okay? So, having said that, are there any more questions or comments before we vote this in?
Yes, the delta sign that you use, what I call a delta sign.
Oh, that just
I think
means-
it's backwards. Number 3, you mean fewer complaints over time.
Yes, I do.
And
I think that
then
your
under
program's more
interactions, I
complicated.
think the same thing is.
That is not my strong suit.
Under interaction, no, that one I think is correct, less money.
Less money than a PID investigation.
But then number 1, it should be fewer, right?
Right, that's not good.
And then when we dot, we're gonna say which one do we wanna keep, right?
No, you're gonna vote on all of them.